Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Tuesday, October 28th, and it is indeed our first live betcast of the season, and it is NHL Frozen Frenzy Tuesday. Happy Frozen Frenzy to everybody. Obviously, the NHL's done this. I think this is their third year now that they're doing the NHL Frozen Frenzy, and of course, 32 teams, all 32 teams in action, and 16 games on the board tonight. In NHL action, staggered start times throughout, starting at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, Matt Robinson with you to break it all down. It's just this is fun stuff when we have this Frozen Frenzy. And like I said, we're excited about the Ice Guys live betcast tonight for the Frozen Frenzy. And again, it will all get underway at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. And again, this is a free-for-all betcast, so just make sure you are aware of that.
While it is free for all for everyone to watch and of course join, those who are Patreon members get first dibs in joining us
the VIP
live.
Club, so they get first.
So that's
yeah.
So just make sure that for those of you who signed up to Patreon, if you want to join us on the stream and be on screen, you will get ahead of people who have not signed up for Patreon. So that's all the more reason to sign up to Patreon.com as well.
Yeah, there it is. The live betcast tonight. We cannot wait. 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Excited about it right here on the Ice Guys YouTube channel. Like I said, 16 games. We're going to have staggered start times throughout. It is going to be a lot of fun. The three of us will be on it. Obviously, a lot of guests as well, viewers and listeners. Excited to see the faces and hear the voices again of the Ice Guys family. Many of them will be on the betcast tonight. It's been too long. Like, we haven't had one of these, obviously, since June when the Stanley Cup Final was taking place last year with Edmonton and Florida. So it'd be great to be back for our first live betcast of the season tonight at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern. Again, DM or email us to join the betcast tonight. Looking forward to it for sure. Just very, very quick on last night. We had two games, obviously, in NHL action. The St. Louis Blues, I guess kind of a weird game as far as, I had a couple of different Blues looks in that game. I had the first period puck line. I had the money line split with St. Louis. We lost both of those, but I did live bet just before St. Louis scored when they were down 2-0 early in the first period. I did get that minus 115 with St. Louis to score a goal in the first period and was able to get in on that at least. And of course, they scored 2 goals in the first period, ended up tying the game. So we got something out of that game, but still another disappointing loss for the Blues after blowing that 4-0 lead against Detroit. They lose last night 6-3 to the Pittsburgh Penguins. What a night for the two old vets. Crosby and Malkin outstanding last night in victory for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they bounced back from a loss to Columbus on Saturday. And I'm waiting for that losing streak for Pittsburgh. Obviously, I thought maybe, losing to Columbus and facing a very motivated St. Louis team, could be the start of a little bit of a skid for them. But no, a nice bounce back and another tough night for Joel Hofer. I mean, basically 2 goals past him in the first minute. Not exactly what you want to see when you're fighting your confidence and you're struggling with your confidence a little bit. And the Pittsburgh Penguins get a 5-3 win there. And then the second game was phenomenal, the prime Monday night hockey game. Boston and Ottawa. We had the first period over. We had the full game over. Full game over ended up being my best bet, even though we didn't have a show yesterday. If you're a Patreon member, it's the reason you should be a Patreon member. We did post a card very early in the afternoon on Monday for the 2 games on the Patreon page. And if you were a Patreon member and you saw the card, you saw that I was on the over by Fecta in that game. You saw that Alex's one bet on the card yesterday was also the first period over in that Boston-Ottawa game. And you would have also seen that we have another bargain bin special winner added to the tote yesterday. And it is someone that, guys, take advantage of this. Since he's been moved up to the top line for the Ottawa Senators, which took place before the Washington game on Saturday, and I'm talking about Nick Cousins playing up there now with Batherson and Stützle, he has scored in both games since moving up to the top line. He scored against Washington on Saturday, And he scored last night against Boston as well. 2 goals in 2 games since Travis Green elevated him to the top line. And Travis said it after the game, too. We think he's a good fit there. He looks comfortable. There's already some good chemistry with Nick Cousins on the top line. So that was great to see that. And what a price it was last night. And I don't know if we're going to get a price that good with Nick Cousins moving forward, now that he scored in back-to-back games. But to get plus 700 on him last night, to be able to find the back of the net. And I thought it was clearly the choice for me last night with the bargain bin special from the 2 games. So it was great to cash that. 7-2 Ottawa win. And, of course, great to cash the over by Fekta. Dominant performance from the Ottawa Senators. I think what was a relief for them, too, is that Levi Marilainen, who's had some struggles this year for the Ottawa Senators, played better in net. It was one of probably his best start this year, even though he's kind of struggled early in the season. And like I said, that was part of the reason I loved the overs in those games was Marilainen, but didn't need to worry about it because Ottawa went over the totals all by themselves last night. So Ottawa with a 7-2 win, and now all of a sudden after that little skid, here we are, Ottawa, 3 wins in a row for them, starting to build some momentum. We'll see if they can keep that going tonight, though, back-to-back spot, and not the easiest scheduling spot. We'll see if they can keep the good times going. Alex, your thoughts on last night?
Yeah, like I said, just a couple of games, and just briefly watched a little bit of each. I think most people who were watching that marathon baseball game more than anything else. But like I said, to see Ottawa, like I said, have that momentum rolling, and like I said, nice little streak building. They're going to need to put together win streaks, of course, to be a playoff team once again. So that's good for them. But to see Pittsburgh, like I said, playing this well, and a team that we all thought would be, an absolute bottom feeder this year. Like I said, it's still early, of course, but they so far so good. The coach bump has been strong with Dan Muse and company, and we always talk about it. It's Crosby. He's the life source of that team, and he's not giving up anytime soon. And those kids that are playing under him, and we talk about how they don't have the depth like 8, 9, 10 years ago, but there has to be excitement when you have these younger guys, especially when a guy who's on a bottom 6 guy maybe a week ago, and then he moves up the top line and gets to play right alongside Crosby. Maybe that brings you, we talk about that boost as far as Crosby can make anybody score, but there should just be some natural energy just playing alongside a talent like him. And that seems to be the case, and they're getting some decent goaltending at times well. And here they are, playing some good hockey. So see how long they can keep that going, of course, with, like I said, all the other teams still looking good. And once other teams find their footing, that's what October is really all about. There's teams who still don't really have everything in a row. Once they do, we may start to see Pittsburgh fall just out of the way because there's just teams that are simply better overall.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, Matt, anything you want to mention from last night?
No, obviously you guys touched on it, and I know we got a big card ahead, but pretty good 2-game slate. When you're a big first period over, full game over better. So I had 4 bets last night, all 4 cashed. I'm hoping that the trend continues into tonight's slate. Obviously a much bigger card. But as you mentioned, it's a betcast night. We got Frozen Frenzy, hoping to see some old faces, hoping to see some new faces, maybe folks that just started checking out the show this year. So really looking forward to the card tonight so we can kind of get into that and go from there.
Yeah, if you're an under better across, specifically NHL right now, NFL right now, NFL was a crazy over week as well. NBA, it's been nuts with the overs here in the first several days of the season. I mean, if you're an under better, you're probably wondering if you're ever going to cash one ever again. I mean, at this point, it's been absolutely crazy across all sports, the run of overs. NFL, NHL, NBA, it's been pretty strong as far as
you know what that means? Things are happening in games. That's what we all want to see anyway. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Absolutely. So it's time to start. It's like, gentlemen, start your engines. The old classic Indianapolis 500 call and to start a NASCAR race too. Any auto race. That's what I feel like doing. Gentlemen, start your engines. We're going to go blistering pace. Well, good pace. I mean, we're not going to just rip right through the games, but we do have 16 games. It's going to be a long show as it is, so we will put our track shoes on and get through these games at a pretty brisk pace. Let's get it underway, and we will begin with the first of 2 games that will begin at 6:00 p.m. Eastern Time. Pittsburgh Penguins, Philadelphia Flyers, Keystone State rivalry showdown between these two teams. Philadelphia minus 160, home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. You look at the Flyers, nice win for them Saturday afternoon, taking on the New York Islanders. They were down in that game. They ended up coming back, getting the victory. One thing I've liked about Rick Tocchet, I know I've said it all year, the work ethic's been strong from the Flyers most of the season. See if they can keep that rolling here going into this matchup against the Pittsburgh Penguins. It is a back-to-back situation here for the Penguins after knocking off the St. Louis Blues 6-3 last night in that game. We'll see how this one plays out here, Penguins and Flyers. This is one where I'm saving it for the betcast. I'm interested maybe in a first period over and a full game over, but only at 5.5. I'm not taking it at 6. 5.5, I'm in. 6, I'm not in. And we got the betcast tonight, and that's probably when I'm going to get in. Now, Philadelphia is not necessarily a team I think is going to be, involved in a ton of high-scoring games, but it's hard to ignore series history with Penguins-Flyers. 4 of the last 5 meetings have gone over the total, and the scores in those 4 games that went over, 7-6, 7-3, 6-1, 5-4. It's actually been quite the high-scoring recent history between these Pennsylvania rivals. So that's why I am interested in the over by Fecta. It's not my favorite look on the board, but I'm going to wait for the betcast to get underway. I think we can get 3 to 5 minutes of scoreless hockey to begin this game, especially because Pittsburgh likely to start Arturs. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. Arturs Shelov's expected to start for Pittsburgh after we saw Jari last night. Ersson in net for the Flyers. I thought he played one of his better games against the Islanders, especially with the game on the line. I thought he came up with a bunch of clutch saves. I think we can get a couple minutes of scoreless hockey and be able to get live overs at a better price on tonight's betcast. Alex, what do you think here, Penguins Flyers?
Obviously, we're going to be dumping into all kinds of live betting coverage tonight. But there are 4 games that I have specifically circled for live first period overs. This one, like I said, I might jump in with you on that full game, 5.5 as well. But I have minus $1.10 as my target price for the first period over. So if you are watching this and going to be watching early for the betcast, or you're listening to this getting ready for the betcast, first period over minus $1.10 is what we're looking for live in Pens Flyers, and that's one of the first games. So that's the thing we'll be jumping right out of the gate with.
By the way, I you know what I think could happen here? Pittsburgh's still playing quite well. I think maybe, usually with teams on a back-to-back, they often can start the game pretty well and then maybe peter out as the game goes on. So this could be a game where if the Flyers are trailing at any point, I get in on a Flyers live bet. Remember, they came back from a deficit against the Islanders Saturday afternoon at home, so don't put it past them to do that here. So maybe a Flyers live target, should I ever see them at a plus price. That would be something I'd maybe be interested in here tonight as well. Matt, anything you're liking here, Pens Flyers?
Yeah, this one, I did jump in yesterday. I did get it at 5.5, just for a small amount. I know we mention it every betcast, especially with a 16 game card, but any bets I have pregame are going to be relatively small because I want to save some bankroll for all the live bets that are going to ensue, especially with the staggered start. So I jumped in at over 5.5. I do like the first period over in this one, but I think, we'll kick things off jumping on for this game. And then, if we can get a 0-0, 3-4 minutes in, maybe get a plus price in that first period over, that's when I'll jump in on this one. But pregame, just the over 5.5 for me.
Yeah, on the prop that I liked actually with some value here as far as, I like for the Flyers here, Tippett, Forster, Cates, any of those guys, because Zegras did score the last game. Does he get rolling for Pittsburgh? Philip Hollander, by the way, could be on the top line for them tonight with Sidney Crosby and Brian Rust. So keep an eye on this going into the game tonight. He had an assist last night in the game against St. Louis, and it looks like he might get a shot here with Crosby and Rust on that left wing side. So Philip Hollander is someone to keep an eye on. Also, Anthony Mantha for Pittsburgh. He's a very erratic player offensively, but when he's on a roll, sometimes he can be streaky, and he has scored in back-to-back games for Pittsburgh. So something to keep an eye on there. All right, Calgary and Toronto. This was supposed to be 6:15 p.m. Eastern time, but they moved it to 6 p.m. Eastern because they want to get it over as quickly as possible and not interfere too much with Jays Dodgers game 4 of the World Series. So this is also a 6 p.m. Eastern.
What'll be funny, right?
Yeah.
They have it listed at 6 Eastern, but watch puck drop still be 6:15. because all the games have been starting late for some reason this year.
Yeah, exactly. Let's not hold it to them. Hold them to it that it's going to be a 6 p.m. Eastern start time. I agree with that. Wouldn't shock me if it's a little later than that. We got Toronto minus 170, home favorites, 5.5 the total. So the Flames are not exactly a team I've been running to bet overs with, but this is a series history bet for me. I mean, when you look at Calgary versus Toronto, 4 straight overs, and they've flown over the total. 4 straight head-to-head meetings between these two teams have essentially gone over the total, with the Flames taking on the Leafs. You look at it, the last 2 years, 5-4, 4-3, 6-3, 6-2. All the games won by Toronto, and Toronto's won 5 straight head-to-head over Calgary. And even going back further, it's 6-1 to the over in the last 7 meetings between these two teams. Here's the thing. We know Calgary couldn't put the puck in the ocean to start the year, and they're still not a great offensive team. But Toronto without Chris Tanev, who is still out tonight. They're hoping to have him back, though, later this week, either tomorrow night in Columbus, which is the one and only game on the card tomorrow, by the way. So it'll be a very short. We're getting in and we're getting the hell out tomorrow with that Wednesday show. It's going to be brief, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's like a 15-minute show, quite honestly. That's how quick it's going to be tomorrow with just the one game as we recover from our BetCast hangover. That's another story. But no Tanev tonight again, and he'll be back maybe tomorrow, maybe later in the week. But without him, look what's happened. They give up 5 goals to New Jersey in the game they were without that he got injured. They give up 5 to Buffalo on Friday. And, of course, they beat Buffalo, but they still gave up 3 goals. And I still didn't love at times how loose they were at times defensively in their own zone, even though they beat the Sabres in the rematch on Saturday. So, obviously, you're talking about one of your best shutdown defensemen, your top shutdown defenseman, elite shot blocker, probably your biggest shot blocker in the team at the back end. So, like I said, it's not surprising to see the Leafs struggle a bit more in their own zone without Christopher Tanev on the ice. And let's give Calgary their due. The last 2 games, after just being in this fog offensively where they couldn't score more than 2 goals, suddenly the last 2 games they've scored 8, 3 against Winnipeg, albeit in a loss. And then, of course, the 5-goal outburst against the New York Rangers in a 5-1 win at home the other night. So I think Calgary can dent the twine here tonight. And here's the thing, too. You would think great goaltending matchup, right? And I think when they're both on the top of their game, it is a great goalie matchup. Dustin Wolf and Anthony Stolarz. But Stolarz and Wolf, go look at the goals saved above expected numbers, or the goals saved above average numbers, whatever, some people call it one, some people call it the other. It's the same stat. They're 2 of the lower goalies in the league, 2 of the worst goalies in the league right now in goals saved above average, goals saved above expected, Wolf and Stolarz. It's kind of shocking to see it. But, yeah, both guys have really been fighting the puck early in the year, especially Wolf. We saw him against the Rangers, and the Rangers not exactly a juggernaut, and they were able to light the lamp. So you combine the issues we're having defensively with Toronto, Calgary an uptick offensively. I don't think Calgary's blue line's very good still. Toronto could probably do some damage. Goalies not playing. Goalies we like, don't get me wrong, but goalies that right now are not playing up to the level they're capable of. The total only being 5.5. The over cashing in 6 of the last 7 meetings, and I'm on over 5.5 here with Flames and Leafs. Alex, what do you think here? Calgary, Toronto.
It's another one I want to wait live for. I'm going to grab both teams to score first period pregame, but I'm going to try and get better pricing with over 1.5, better pricing with 5.5. Like I said, we'll be on early, so these will be the first 3 things we knock out. But like I said, I can see where this is a back and forth kind of battle. Wolf's numbers just horrendous, like you said, right now, and especially the 2 starts he's had against Toronto. Not good. 886 save percentage. 10 goals allowed over those 2 starts. So this could be a game where maybe look at Toronto team total. 3 flat at MGM is minus 150. I don't really want to lay that, especially when we're talking about a huge card night and the night where we're doing a lot of live action. So if I don't know if they have the flat numbers in game. If they do, I might wait for that to maybe drop down to like 120, 125 and grab that. But definitely like an over by factor in game with this one.
Yeah, I think it was Tim York Goose. And Goose, this is the Goose Bowl, Tim York Bowl right here. Calgary, Toronto. It's his favorite team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, against the team from the city where he's been living for a very long time, out there in Calgary, or Calgary, as Tim Goose likes to say. So I agree with him on Morgan Frost. Morgan Frost, it looks like he's up on the top unit tonight, top line with Johnny Huberdeau and Naz Kadri. So keep an eye on that. So good value probably with Morgan Frost. I am so ticked, so pissed off, so angry that I missed my sweet. We've talked about this with Nick Robertson before. When he's a healthy scratch and he comes back into the lineup after being a healthy scratch, you just bet him to score a goal. You just do it. You don't think twice. Just do it. Nike, like Jordan back in the day. You just do it. You bet him to score. And sure enough, Nick Robertson, after being a healthy scratch, back in the lineup Saturday against Buffalo, and he scored against the Sabres, and it was a very good price, obviously. And it looks like Craig Berube's got him with Austin Matthews and Bobby McMann as this never-ending experiment to get a top line that's actually going to work and click and have chemistry and produce is still ongoing. Brought Bobby McMann, Austin Matthews, Nick Robertson. Bobby McMahon's probably worth a look up on that line. I've said that before, plus 320. But certainly Nick Robertson up there, plus 450 in some spots. So, and he scored, of course, in his return to the lineup against Buffalo on Saturday. So those are a couple of props that I do like on the Leaf side of it. Matt, what do you think here, Calgary, Toronto?
Yeah, I love the over here. I may split it up, put a little bit pregame at 5.5, and then try and get a better price live. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to not take an over 5.5 with these two teams playing, especially looking at series history. So hoping for goals in this one, but should be a good game.
Yeah, by the way, there were some questions. I think it was Evan that asked. Yeah, the Betcast is free. This one's free. Open to everybody here tonight. Open to everybody. So come on in if you want to join us. Yeah, like I said, DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the Betcast, and we'll send you the link for it before it begins. So, yeah, everybody's invited tonight, although Patreon members do get preference. As far as if we get full capacity, we're going to kick a non-Patreon guy out for a Patreon guy, essentially.
That's right.
Yeah. That at the end of the day is what would happen. And it's not like we don't like you. It's just, hey, we got to give the preferential treatment to the members. Yep. Exactly. 100%.
There's a velvet rope here. So.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. All right, this is one of the games of the night. That's why it's in the title of the YouTube video. Usually the game that's in the title of the YouTube video is always one of the better games of the night. I try to make it one of the more marquee games or a national TV game. This is definitely a good one. Vegas, Carolina. We've got Carolina minus 150, home favorite, 6 the total here in this game. This is a 6:37 p.m. start time. Here in Raleigh, North Carolina. David, who joined us for the Hurricane preview video before the season, he'll be there. He's going to try to actually get on the Betcast after the game with us later tonight as well. So I hope he enjoys it. I don't know if he's enjoying the injuries on the Carolina blue line right now. Obviously, they've had multiple defensemen out the last few games. 3 starting defensemen have missed time. No Shane Gostisbehere, no K-Andre Miller, no Jacob Slavin. We've talked about how massive the loss of Slavin is, but Miller, the way he was playing, you miss him. Shane Gostisbehere, as far as puck moving and getting involved on the power play, you miss him. So shuffling has had to go on here for Carolina. They got Mike Riley, Sean Walker, Jalen Chatfield, Alexander Nikishin, Joel Nystrom has had to step up and play more minutes as well on that third pair. So shuffling going on. And one thing we've seen with Carolina as the attrition and the injuries have mounted on the blue line, the goals allowed have gone up for Carolina. We knew it had to happen eventually. You can't lose, especially a guy like Jacob Slavin, and not have it negatively impact you at the defensive end of the ice. And sure enough, the last few games as the competition has gotten tougher. They gave up the 3 goals to LA. That was the first game, I believe, they played without Jacob Slavin. 4 goals allowed to Vegas in T-Mobile when they played a week ago. 4 goals allowed in a shootout loss to Colorado, or shootout win, I should say, against Colorado. And then can't hold a 2-0 lead against Matty Robinson's Dallas Stars, and they lose that game by a score of 3-2. So, like I said, the Carolina defensive injuries are negatively making a difference as far as their defensive zone play. So we'll see how they fare. This is a revenge spot for Carolina because they did lose 4-1. It was their first loss of the season when they lost to Vegas last week. And they are coming back home off a 6-game road trip. So you got revenge spot, but they're coming off a 6-game roadie. And the fact, they're minus 150. I don't really like this pregame price with Carolina. Now, you tell me if Vegas gets the lead at some point tonight, would I be interested in Carolina plus money during the Betcast? Damn right I would. absolutely I would look for Carolina live, potentially if they fall behind. That's the target. Carolina live should they fall behind. Remember, they're a very good team on home ice. That's a great environment there. Lenovo Center in Raleigh. They're 2-0 at home already this year. And they haven't been at home, guys, for a long time. First 2 games of the year, and then they went on that long 6-game road trip. But they are 2-0 at home. They beat the Devils and the Flyers in their first 2 home games. So Carolina live, if I get a plus price, very much will target that tonight during the betcast. And I'm on the over by Fecta here. Over 1.5 first period, over 6 full game. I'm just attacking overs with Carolina with the defensive injuries. Yeah. Vegas still remains just a phenomenal first period over team. I didn't win the second leg of the bifecta against Tampa Bay on Sunday with Vegas, but the first period over got there 1-1 after the opening period. Vegas, we talked about this, it's nothing new, nothing different, how strong they've been as a first period over team. So I'm on over bifecta. Probably tilted a little bit more money-wise as far as the amount to the first period over here with the Golden Knights and the Hurricanes. Alex, Vegas, Carolina.
This is the first period over I bet this morning. I grabbed minus 125. It has now moved to 130 or 135. I still like it at 130. Anything higher than that, I would say wait live. And this will be one that I will attack again live should it gets into plus money territory. So we're going to double up on this one. I like this first period over a lot. I also have a little piece of both teams to score plus 154 at FanDuel. So just attacking the first period with this game. I'm going to be a broken record for the first half of this card, just so you know.
I know it is. It's just what it's not the way we're planned it, to be on all these games early, especially early in the card over and first period over. It's just the way it planned out. It played out. That it's advantageous matchup.
Which I don't mind. I'm happy about that personally because of the way I like to attack live betting. And that's the thing. For those of you who may not have been on a betcast or joined us for a betcast and you're kind of wondering, why are we talking about everything live? You kind of have to have a little bit of a plan of attack, especially if you're trying to bet, the majority of the card in the night. So you plan to have things that you're setting up for now. The things you bet pregame where you want to get the best of the number, of course, but then you set up spots, and of course manage your time because we're talking about staggered starts. This is a 5:45 start. So we'll already have roughly 10, 15 minutes into the first couple of games. And you want to space your time out as well as your bankroll when, making these kind of live bets one after another. So.
Yeah. And by the way, if you pay attention to our guy, he's unleashed his first period totals chart of the new season, Chris Otto. Make sure you check him out at PSU Auto. You'll see that Carolina is indeed on a 4-game first period over streak entering tonight. And guess what, guys? It coincides with what? With what? Jacob Slavin's absence. 4 games without him, and they've all gone over in the first period. So, again, it's not just, random 4 games in a row for Carolina have gone over in the first period. No, there's actually something of substance to it. And they're missing their tower of power, pillar of strength, top shutdown defenseman, plays in all situations, Jacob Slavin. It's not, to me, a complete coincidence. It's been 4 straight first period overs for Carolina since he's been out. Not at all. Matt, what do you think here? Vegas, Carolina.
Yeah, I love the bifecta here. I do love the first period, but I like the full game as well. Vegas is coming in. They have 1 goal in their last 2 games. They're going to look to get rolling again. Carolina knows that Vegas just beat them in Vegas 4-1. So, they're going to be looking for a revenge spot. And then, as you mentioned, Slavin is the obvious piece. Carolina is a team that can definitely put some goals in the net, but they are having trouble defensively between him. Keandre Miller's been in and out all season. So he's a factor. When both those guys are out, their depth drops tremendously. So I think Vegas will come out, wanting to kind of correct those last 2 games in Florida, put out a better effort, get back to where they're at, 3-4 goals a night. And then I think Carolina at home can very much do the same, which, a total at 6, maybe we get 3-3 in the third, someone scores, or we get overtime. Either way, it would cash. So I like both pregame. And then this is definitely one of the better games of the night. Just 2 good teams, 2 contenders. I know there's some injuries. I know Aiden Hill's out, but this will be a good one to watch. So I'll definitely be looking to jump and add a little bit to that bifecta during the game.
All right, there we go. Good stuff. Yeah, just a couple props here. I'm back to a close shave. Barbashev, with him still being on the top line. Dorofeyev as well for Vegas. And I think for Carolina, Jackson Blake. Yes, Jackson Blake's on the prop card for me tonight. He scored in the last game, plus 300, a good price. And Wild Bill, took a shot with him. Wild Bill Carlson, plus 480, pretty good price. I would think Aho is a good bet, too. He's heating up. Goals in 3 straight games. It's not as good of a price with a guy like that, plus 170, but he does have a goal in 3 straight games. And like I said, sometimes with the first period over trends, and you see four in a row for a team, 6 in a row have gone over in the first period, whatever the case, sometimes it's just performance patterns. This is not. This is performance pattern combined with a significant injury on the defensive side with Slavin that has led probably to Carolina conceding more goals and being involved in higher scoring games, especially early in the season. All right, next up, we've got Columbus and Buffalo, 6:52 p.m. Eastern time, the start here. We've got Buffalo minus 115, home favorites. The total here sitting at 6.5. Buffalo's like won 4 in a row at home. I mean, I can't believe it, but a place that's 3/4 empty most nights, and all of a sudden, Buffalo's developing quite the nice little home track record of success here in recent games. So I don't know if I'm running and leaping to bet Columbus here with how well Buffalo's played at home in recent games. And it's, not just the win streak here on home ice for Buffalo, but, they've beaten Ottawa, Florida, Detroit, and Toronto during this 4-game win streak. Pretty good teams, really, when you look at it here on home ice. Alex Lyons confirmed in net here for the Sabres. And obviously for Columbus, it's probably the guy we all prefer. Certainly Alex and I for sure. Jet Greaves in net here for this start for the Blue Jackets. Columbus, they have won 3 of their last 4 wins against Tampa, Dallas, and Pittsburgh in a shootout on Saturday. The loss was, believe it or not, with Jet Greaves in net, if you can believe it. 5-1 against Washington on Friday night. So we'll see how this one goes with the Jackets and the Sabres. You look at head-to-head, it's kind of gone back and forth. Buffalo's won 3 of the last 5. Buffalo has won 2 of the last 3 at home versus the Columbus Blue Jackets. What's interesting here is that we've had a little bit of an under run in this series, 4-1, in fact, to the under in the last 5 meetings. And this could be an under. I'm not Mr. Under, but this game, if Lyon plays the way he's played at times, especially at home, and we know we like Jet Greaves, especially, compared to Elvis Merzlikins as far as consistency. This might stay under. I'm not betting it, but I lean that way. And I'm going to look for Columbus maybe in game if they fall behind. But like I said, this is definitely not a pregame look. This is going to be something I look for live, maybe with Columbus if they fall behind. But at the same point in time, I'm ready to give Buffalo their props for once. They've won 4 in a row at home. They've played a little bit. Tage Thompson's starting to get going after a slow start to the season. So willing to give them their props and maybe ease off the gas pedal a little bit as far as betting against the Sabres. Alex, what do you think here? Jackets, Sabres.
This is a game where I'm actually looking at the draw. And it's predicated on 2 things. I do feel like this could be a back and forth kind of a close battle. Like I said, yes, Buffalo has been on a nice run at home. Columbus has kept things relatively close on the road, but I don't trust either one of these teams to back them with a pregame money line bet live. Also, this is one where I probably won't be watching a whole lot early. As like I said, we talk about staggered start times. Some games are going to get thrown out of the shuffle. Columbus and Buffalo probably get thrown out of the shuffle with some better games on at the same time. So this will be one that if we pop in, other people will be watching it. We talk about it, and maybe somebody has a little bit more intel, and then we jump in on something live. But this is one I don't have anything pregame other than the draw. I take a shot with a goal scorer in overtime. Maybe look at Sean Monahan for Columbus or Alex Tuck for Buffalo. But I haven't made a decision on either one of those yet.
No, I like Benson and Doan for prop value for Buffalo. They're both in the top 6. Benson with Kulik and Thompson, Doan with McLeod and Tuck on the second line. So it's probably a little bit of value there with both of them right now. You've got obviously Voronkov, Monahan, Marchenko have been very good for the Blue Jackets on that top line. Keep an eye, though, on, I'm going to say it again, I know Zach Werenski obviously is the big name on the blue line, but Denton Mateychuk has 2 goals in the last 3 games. And even though he didn't score in the 5-4 win against Pittsburgh, he had 4 shots on goal, a season high in shots on goal from the blue line. That's worth a sprinkle. To me, that is worth a sprinkle. Denton Mateychuk, defenseman for the Blue Jackets, 12-1, plus 1,200 to find the back of the net. That's worth a shot. Matt, what do you think here? Columbus, Buffalo.
Yeah, this is generally a pass for me. And not to repeat Alex too hard, but this is probably just not a game that's going to be making the cut. I'll try and have 4 or 5 games going at a time with the TV, with the computer. But once we get rolling, this is probably a game that's on the back burner. I do agree on Josh Doan is always worth a look. I just, where I saw him, I think I saw him at like plus 220 anytime goal, which, for a guy with 2 goals in 9 games, that's not really enough value for me to jump on board. I obviously will be stoked if he scores. He's a good buddy of mine. But for a guy that scores 1 out of, every 4 or 5 games, I'd like to see, at least a bargain bin worthy price point. So I think, he's getting more opportunity. He does have 6 points in 9 games. But, I think they've overinflated the value a little bit, getting him more opportunity. I think he's, the value would be a little better at like a plus 330 as opposed to a plus 220. So probably just a straight pass. I could be interested in the over in this one if there's some pace early, but it would have to get down to maybe a 6 at a plus price. But I have to feel that, there is, back and forth action, a couple power plays, something like that. So overall, just a pass game for me. And then we'll see if there's anything live tonight.
All right. By the way, I already mentioned it. Yeah, Lyon and Greaves, the starting goaltenders. All right, Anaheim Ducks, Florida Panthers. We've got Florida minus 180, home favorites, 6.5 the total here, shaded to the under slightly here in this game. Florida Panthers have had a grueling start to the year. They've been up and down. They're 5-5, 500 to start the year. They went through a 4-game losing streak on that road trip, salvaged the final game of the road trip with that late win against Boston, come back home. They actually outplayed Pittsburgh 37-17. They outshot him heavily, but lost 5-3. Bounced back with, I think, you could easily say that was their best game of the year, especially considering the caliber of opponent when they shut out Vegas 3-0 over the weekend. That looked like the champion Florida Panthers there in that game. So we'll see if they can keep it rolling now and string 2 wins in a row together. What's funny is Florida has not won 2 games in a row since very early in the season when they started the year with that 3-game win streak at home against Chicago, Philadelphia, and Ottawa. They have basically not won 2 in a row since then. Yes, Joel Quenneville, Rich H., back in Florida, one of his former stops, and facing the Panthers, of course, where he formerly was head coach many years ago. Anaheim coming off a game where they easily could have won, and dare I say maybe should have won against Tampa Bay. I thought they played a heck of a game against the Lightning. Puck didn't go in for them. Jonas Johansson, to his credit, played pretty well in net, but Anaheim outshot Tampa 40-33, but fell 4-3 in that game to the Tampa Bay Lightning, breaking apart their mini little 2-game win streak. They get Florida's owned this series, right? 9-1. And normally when I see that, Florida's 9-1 in the last 10 meetings, I'm either taking the team that's been dominant in the series or I'm passing the game. But this is a little bit different. Anaheim has, I thought, played well enough to win against a team we think could be, they haven't started the season great, Tampa, but we still think they're going to figure it out and be better long-term. And they probably should have won that game. But you look at this game now for Florida, Daniil Tarasov is going to get the start for them, obviously giving Sergei Bobrovsky a rest. And there's a downgrade to Tarasov. I'm not saying Tarasov can't be good, but in his first 2 starts, he gave up 3 goals in a loss to Philly, 3 goals in a loss to New Jersey earlier this season. Florida's 0-2 with Daniil Tarasov in net so far this season, with a 3.08 goals against average and .887 save percentage. I think the Quackers are live tonight. I'm going to take Anaheim here, plus 150. No Brad Marchand either for the Florida Panthers. He is going to miss this game tonight for them due to injury. Jonah Gadjevich out. Of course, the usuals are still out. Kulikov, Barkov, Matthew Tkachuk. But it's a personal matter for Marchand, not an injury. He's away from the team to attend the funeral of a member of his family. So that is why he's missing the game tonight between these two teams. I think Anaheim is live here. I like the way they played against Tampa. I thought they actually carried play. Just an unfortunate result that they didn't even get a point out of that game. And man, were they pressing. late in that game for the tying goal. But yeah, I like Anaheim at that. I'll tell you, Steven, it's not so much I love backing Anaheim, but I want to get in on this team at these good prices, because if I find they start winning some of these games, we're not going to get these prices again later on in the year. It's a winnable spot. They're 0-2 with Tarasov in net, Florida. I'll take my shot here with Anaheim plus 150, and I'll also split it up, the money line plus 150 with team total for Anaheim here over as well, which I've been doing quite a bit the last year or two with the underdogs, is going money line and team total over split. And team total over 2.5 is minus 115 for the Anaheim Ducks at Pinnacle, the low juice shop. So excellent price there. I lean to the full game. I'll probably wait till the betcast to get involved in maybe a first period over or full game over, but I'm really pregame focusing more on the Anaheim side of it. Ducks money line, Ducks team total over 2.5. Alex, what do you think here? Anaheim, Florida.
I'm with you on both of those plays, but I'm going to take a step further with the first goal in the first period. You can get plus 150 with that at FanDuel as well. So I'm liking Anaheim early and often in this game. You know, I would love to hear what Coach Q's comments are going to be going back to Florida for this first time. You know, I'm sure it has to really stick with him that he had this team so close, this Florida Panthers team, when he was coaching, to making that turnaround. And then once they go through Brunette, and then Paul Maurice shows up, and now all of a sudden they're an absolute juggernaut. But here they are, not looking as sharp to start the year as the last couple of years. This is a perfect time for Anaheim. Like I said, me and Ian both like Anaheim this season. And like I said, chances are Anaheim's not going to be plus 150 too often if they continue to play the way that they've been playing and cash at these prices. So plus 150 is, I think, a bargain here, especially going against Tarasov. But I'm also going to add that team total over 2.5 and first goal, first period.
One thing I'm worried about, even though I'm on Anaheim tonight, I hate that they lost Michael Granlund. He had started out so well this year for the Anaheim Ducks. He's going to be out 2 to 3 weeks. Of course, they are still without Chris Kreider and Radko Gudas as well, but they've been without Kreider for a while. They've still managed to play pretty well without him. But I still like him here, Anaheim. It just sucks to see Michael Granlund go down because he had gotten off to a pretty good start here with his new team. And Matty Robinson knows Michael Granlund very well. Used to be, of course, with Dallas last year. What do you think here, Matt? Anaheim, Florida.
Yeah, I was bummed to see Granny move on, but obviously when you've got a bunch of
business
guys playing well,
yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think anyone in the locker room, anyone in the front office would have been happy to keep him, but just all things considered, similar to Marchman, sometimes you got to move on from a couple guys if you're going to make room for young guys that are developing. But yeah, I'm pretty on board with both you guys here. I leaned Anaheim coming into the show, and I think you guys kind of got me sold. Ian, I'm probably going to play it similar to you with a little split. You know, throw a little cash on plus 150, throw a little cash on team total. You know, as far as totals go, which is rare for me, I don't like anything in this. Just given, I think on Chris Otto, shouts again. Always thankful for his charts that he posts for us. I think Florida's the worst first period over team in the whole league right now at 20%. So. Yeah, I could see this being like a 1-0 first, you know, maybe it's 2-1, 3-1 after the second. That'd be perfect for us, you know, get to that team total, get a Ducks win. So, yeah. And again, this, given the card, it's not quite like Sabres Columbus, but this probably, just with how Florida's been playing, this probably isn't a jump out spot to watch as far as the whole slate. But yeah, I do lean Anaheim here. So I'll throw a little pregame bet and then we'll see how things go live. You know, maybe if Florida scores early, but Anaheim is looking good, then, you know, you jump on at plus 300 or something. So we'll see how the game goes, but just small bets to start and nothing on the totals.
Matt, you make a great point too, looking at, you know, games that could seem like they may start off slow. We don't mind that, especially on a betcast night, because we look for those second period overs, second period both teams to score. Oftentimes, if it's a 1-0 start, we'll look at that team that's trailing to get the first goal in the second period at an increased price. So there's a lot of ways to attack if you don't have high scoring early in the first period.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like I said, this is it's an angle we've mentioned before. The slow, especially the scoreless. The scoreless first period is where it's really been good. The second period over and the second period goal in the first 10 minutes. both teams to score, you name it. That's been a really good look, especially for the games where there's not a single goal in the opening period of the game. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on there. Just briefly with props here for tonight, Anaheim, Florida. Cutter, Gauthier, Carlson, I'm interested for them as far as finding the back of the net is concerned. For the Florida Panthers, the one thing about Marchand being out is we could see a little bit of a... Troy Terry, by the way, has scored in 3 straight games for Anaheim. Might pop that one in, too. Jacob Trouba for Anaheim. I bullshit you not. He's scored in back-to-back games, and he's 15-1 to score. Just saying. Jacob Trouba, all of a sudden, from the blue line for Anaheim, has found the back of the net here in a couple of games in a row. Just, a couple of bucks on that. Why not? Based on his current form at the moment for the Anaheim Ducks getting involved, getting on the score sheet. So those are a couple of props for me. I'm just looking at the lineup here. Without Marchand, looks like Paul Maurice has got Verhaeghe, Rodriguez, and Reinhart. Mackie Samoskevich, he's the guy. I was wondering who's going to be with Kuhlmint and Lundell. Who is going to be with Kuhlmint and Lundell? And it looks like it's going to be Mackie Samoskevich with the opportunity to play with Anton Lundell and E2 Kuhlmint Luostarinen. So I definitely think Mackie Samoskevich props are very much in play as well with that bit of information. All right, New York Islanders, Boston Bruins. Islanders -150 road favorites, 6.5 the total here in this game. I'm going to be brief here. You guys know what I like already. The Islanders this year have transformed. They're scoring, and they're not anywhere close to the same defensive team. Every Islander game has gone not over. There's one game that was push or under, but everything else has gone over. And every game, every single Islander game this year has had 6 or more goals scored. Now, this total, when I got on it, full game was 6. Okay, it was not 6.5. So, but I still like it at 6.5. And I like the first period over here as well. This is an over by Fecta here for me. Islanders and Bruins. Bruins, by the way, if you're interested in first 10 minutes, goal in first 10 minutes bets, Boston 7 straight games with Chris Otto's chart. 7 straight games where Boston has had a goal in the first 10 minutes of their game. So keep an eye on that for sure. So definitely first period over by Fecta here. This is an Islander team. We've been just rolling in the cash, raking in the dough with Islanders overs this year, and we're not slowing down until we have a reason to, and they have not shown me a reason yet. Alex, what do you think here? Islanders, Bruins.
Check around with sportsbooks too, because of today being Frozen Frenzy Day. There are a lot of books that have different boosts, different prop combinations and things. So if you're looking, like I said, that goal in first 10 minutes, I've seen a couple of other games have prices boost on the yes and goal first 10 minutes. So check around if that's applicable. Maybe that's something to look for with Boston. But this will be one where I'll be looking for live with the over by Fecta. 6.5, still a little too high. If I can get a 6, I'll lay 130 to get a 6 with a team that's trending to the over like the Islanders, rather than just go 6.5 here. So that's what I'll be waiting for in game.
And look at these Sorokin numbers: 3.70 goals against, 875 save percentage. Just now, I know he's got that Russian goalie coach now, which hopefully will help, but he's not been good. The defense has been the worst part. Sorokin's been struggling, but it's the defense and the grade A's, the high quality chances they are giving up on a nightly basis. The Islanders, it's nowhere close to that same blue line that we've seen in the past. And the Bruins aren't a good defensive team. Jimmy Murphy's shouting it from the heavens all year how bad defensively he thinks they are. And they've got Jonas Korpisalo, who's Jonas Korpisalo, as I like to say. He looks like a corpse in net because he can't stop the puck. If you're a corpse and you're dead, you can't stop the puck. And Jonas Korpisalo is kind of showing us that right now. He's had a terrible start to the year. And you're going to get him in net because it was Swayman. Now, Swayman got lit up last night. It's not like Swayman was any good. But here's another thing where, the goaltending is suspect, especially with Korpisalo. And the blue line in front of their goalies is pretty rancid so far this year. 4.03 goals against average, 845 save percentage for Jonas Korpisalo this year. So, yeah, should be goals here in Beantown tonight. Matt, what do you think here? Islanders, Bruins.
Yeah, I actually jumped in on this yesterday and got 5.5 at -122, I think, on MGM.
Wow, good job getting in so early, because I know it was 5.5 very briefly. Very good. Wow.
And now I think it's for 5.5 on MGM, it's like -155. That's been sort of the bonus of posting picks on WSP is, I'm getting stuff in the day before. So What I've noticed with a lot of these NHL games is they start 5.5 a lot of times, but it's the day before, not really looking at it, and then boom, it's a 6.5 when you get to looking at it. So definitely something to look at. If the Islanders continue this streak, it's up to 8, right? 8 in a row. At least
7-1
goals.
to the over. 7-1 to the over, but all 8 games have had at least 6 goals. All 8.
Yep. Yeah. And so, that's a trend that you're going to tail it till it falls off. So, something to look for. If this does get to, 6, even if it doesn't get to 7, the next Islanders game, I believe they don't play again until Thursday. You go ahead and on Wednesday, try and get in at that 5.5. It'll be Canes Islanders, which again, I'll love that over on Thursday, given the Canes defensive situation, that should be a high scoring affair. So definitely something to keep an eye on. I will be also looking to add to my bet live, because I do think, given Boston, their first period numbers, this looks like a great over opportunity. But anyone that does like the first period over, that's reluctant with the 6.5, this is a perfect Matty Rob special game. It's on MGM right now at plus 120. If you throw in over 1.5, over 5.5. So if you're not confident with the 6.5, but you love this game at 5.5 and you feel good about that first period over, especially given Boston's numbers as well, that's a great look to get something in pregame, and then you can always look to double down live.
AM keeps reminding me of this trend. I've got to remind myself to track it, keep tracking it, see how it's going to do long term. But it's the winning streak snap trend. Winning streak of 3 or more games gets snapped in the last game, which is what happened with the Islanders when they lost to the Flyers on Saturday. And then you bet the other team against that team only if the team you are betting has a money line that's better than minus 150. So there you go. And the Islanders are less than minus 150. Well, they were, but they actually still are in some spots. But yeah, that says bet the Bruins here. And we mentioned that trend the last time AM was in the chat posting it. And I know it's Jonathan did the long-term research on it, Jonathan Davis, and he said it's a winning record, not by a ton, but it's a winning record long-term with that. The 3-game streak snapped, previous game, fade them the next game. If it falls in that price range. But you know what I'm going to tack on is a little Bruin team total over 2.5 minus 130 here, because I'm just looking at it now. The Bruins have scored 3 goals minimum in every single home game at TD Garden this year, actually, if you can believe it. Scored 3 goals in every single game. So to be able to get the Bruins here, and by the way, the Bruins ought to be, bring something to the table. They just got their ass kicked last night, 7-2 by Ottawa. So over 2.5 at minus 135 is the best price with the Bruin team total over. I'm going to sprinkle on that as well.
Yeah, that system I wouldn't say it's a hard cap system to bet, but I think that would be something to certainly add into your handicap. Like I said, there's situations where he says in the chat now, Penguins are also part of that spot too. But are you rushing? I'd be more inclined to bet Bruins pregame than bet Penguins pregame situation. Even though, like I said, we've seen the Penguins, playing well, but you were waiting for that bottom to kind of fall out with Pittsburgh. So I would say it's more of a situational angle to add to your cap than just blindly bet.
Yeah, it's definitely something to. It's what I always say about these trends and these angles. You use it as a piece of the puzzle. If you consider it, you factor it in your final decision, but you don't weigh everything on it. Yeah, it's that's the but you do factor it in, especially if it's a winning, successful long-term angle. All right, next up we've got Tampa Bay and Nashville. Tampa Bay minus 160 road favorites, 6 the total here in this game. Slowly but surely light at the end of the tunnel for Tampa Bay. Terrible start to the year. We know that. But now they've won 2 in a row, beating pretty good teams if you look at it. Anaheim and Vegas. I think that's two pretty good teams there. Anaheim's improving. Vegas is a really good team. So after that brutal start to the year where they started 1-6, they're now 3-6 on the season. 2 wins in a row. The one thing we've complained about with Tampa and their struggles is they look slow sometimes this year. Like they look like they're a notch or 2 slower than they've been in the past. But guess what? That's not going to show up here because Nashville might even be slower as a hockey team. So I think if you're Tampa Bay, this is actually a matchup where you might be able to do a nice job here and keep the momentum going. They've also dominated this Nashville team historically, 8-2 in the last 10 meetings. Tampa Bay's also won 3 of the last 4 here in Music City. So I will go with Tampa Bay team total here in this game. That's a small bet pregame. It's another of these deals where if I get Tampa at plus money, if they fall behind, I'll jump in. But a small pregame bet on Tampa over 3.5 plus 118 team total. We'll probably look at a Tampa live bet if they fall behind at some point here in Nashville tonight. Alex, what do you think here? Lightning and Predators.
Pre-game pass for me. This is one that I'll be tracking and watching and waiting to jump in live with.
All right, Matt, Tampa Bay, Nashville.
Yeah, it's actually a pass for me as well. I just, Nashville's been kind of up and down for me. Tampa, same thing. They've had low scoring games. They've had some decent scoring games. I just want to kind of see the pace before I jump in on anything. I think, if Tampa was maybe minus 115, I'd have some interest in maybe jumping on Tampa, but I just think at this price, it's just a pass for me.
I don't think he's much of a goal scorer. I've seen him do a lot of fighting here for the Lightning early this year, but I'm seeing Curtis Douglas with Cirelli and Hagel on the second line. But like I said, he's been in a couple fights this year for the Lightning. We'll see if he can maybe find some goal scoring, but it looks like after being a scratch against Vegas that he might be on that second line. So there'll be value, that's for sure, playing with Cirelli and Hagel on that second line. So maybe a small shot at that here from a prop standpoint for Curtis Douglas with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Oh, I want to mention too, Wood is good. Matthew Wood, who has gotten into 3 games since being called up. He has an assist, but he looks like he's going to be put on the top line by Andrew Brunette with O'Reilly Auto Parts and Philip Forsberg. So Matthew Wood for Nashville. Prop that might have some value here tonight. All right, Winnipeg, Minnesota at the Grand Casino Arena, as we're starting to nail that. We've got even money, minus 110, both sides, 6 the total. This has everything that screams Winnipeg tonight. They've won 8 in a row against Minnesota. They've dominated this matchup. They've been amazing off a loss since the beginning of last year. Tremendous off a loss. They're already 2-0 off a loss this year. Winnipeg has yet to drop consecutive games. Now, Minnesota did have this little team meeting with the captains, and that's certainly something to keep in mind. But like I said, Winnipeg here has just dominated this series. I'm totally fine taking the minus 110. Minnesota can't get out of their own way, losing to San Jose at home. Horrible loss over the weekend for Minnesota. And like I said, Winnipeg's just dominated them. Hellebuck's good to go in net. I think it'll be Gustafsson for Minnesota. Winnipeg minus 110. They're off a loss. That's a bet on spot for them. They've dominated Minnesota so far. 8 straight wins in this series. So Winnipeg minus 110 for me in this one. And when Terry Edelman's in the chat saying fade the Wild, his beloved team, even he thinks this is the right move tonight. Alex, what do you think here? Jets, Wild.
Yeah, it's the tense mood around the Twin Cities with this Wild team. People are certainly not happy. And yeah, this is a prime Jet spot. So I laid minus $1.15. Obviously, grab the best price available. But I do like the Jets to win this contest. And I will be waiting for plus money with the first period over in this one. Maybe even a half a goal. This could be one where we see it go low and slow early, and then the pace starts to increase. And maybe it's the Jets scoring that first goal. But this is a great live game. Definitely will be watching and waiting for spots here. But Jets on the money line pregame.
Yeah, I lean under here. I think this is going to probably be a low and slow game too. I could see this being. I think the Winnipeg Minnesota history is pretty low scoring as well, if I'm not mistaken, head-to-head wise. Let me just, 6-2-2 to the under, 3 straight unders. Every game last year head-to-head, Minnesota, Winnipeg was an under. 2-1, 4-1, 5-0. All Jet.
That was a Wild team that played usual defense. They're not really showing that right now. So
no, they're not. Be careful, but it is still a pretty strong under series history. Matt, what do you think here? Jets, Wild.
Yeah, this is an interesting one for me. Terry and I were talking yesterday, and he said, hopefully you're fading the Wild here. I go back and forth because, when you really look at Winnipeg's schedule, the only playoff teams, in my opinion, they've played, you've got Dallas, maybe Utah, both losses. They did beat the Kings 3-2. The Kings are kind of one of those border teams where, tough start, but
that's a fair point. This has not been the overly strong strength of schedule for Winnipeg. They feasted on a lot of patsies. There is some truth to that.
Yeah,
there is.
Yeah. They beat the Islanders, they beat the Flyers, they beat the Preds, they beat the Flames twice. They did lose to Seattle at home 3-0 with Hellebuck in net. So it's just, I saw Kyle mention in the chat, like it seems like if you look at all the series history, who is in better form overall, this should be more than just a pick 'em, maybe a Winnipeg minus 130, minus 140. So it just seems a little bit trappy to me. I do agree with you on the unders. I think, Minnesota's struggling. I think Winnipeg tends to be, a low and slower team. They're not coming out and putting 4 goals in the first period very often. They're going to rely on Hellebuck to kind of slow the game down, kind of keep that pace. So I do lean under. I just think it might be a pass game for me. If I tune into this game, because it is a game that interests me, I'm a fan of a Central Division team, and Winnipeg's flying all over the place and looks to have that pace, I might jump in if it stays 0-0 and you get a good price on Winnipeg. But pregame, I go back and forth because Minnesota's clearly got a lot of issues right now, but Winnipeg is not a team that I just feel super confident backing on a road game. So it's probably just a pass for me.
All right, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, that's that. I had to laugh at what John X was saying. Terry is 2-50 fading the Wild. He got his 2 wins this season. I think Terry mentioned that. He's actually, last year was a disaster for Terry fading the Wild. It seemed like when he faded the Wild, they stepped up and they won. But this year, apparently, Terry's 2-0 fading them. So maybe it's going to be a new year where when he does not like the Wild, they are going to lose in those situations. But we'll see. Like I said, I think it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. And Terry Edelman saying, hi, of course, everyone wants Pete. Who the hell would not want Peter DeBoer? Because of obviously, and I know he's not won the elusive cup, but you're going to get a great regular season with him. You're going to get some playoff series wins with him.
You're going to win Game 7 with him. Yeah. You're an auto in Game 7 if you've got Pete DeBoer. So
that's true.
That's the one thing. If you can get to a Game 7 in a series.
Yeah, but an auto to piss off royally his starting goaltender, because he's done that now multiple times in the past. Did it in Vegas, and I think both times it got his ass canned.
Well,
yep. I think both times. I think Vegas was the reason.
And Hines ain't going anywhere soon because he bought a house. So the Wild don't like to pay people for not doing things. So I don't see him getting fired anytime soon.
Yeah, no doubt. So we'll see how that one goes with Jets and Wild. Didn't really have much here as far as props go in this game. Not too much at the moment, other than maybe a look to Velarde. That's about it. All right, next up, we've got Detroit and St. Louis. Minus 110, both sides, 6 the total in this game. I thought, if this was anybody that the St. Louis Blues were playing, and I thought highly of this team coming into the year, and they've greatly disappointed so far. If this was any other team they were playing but Detroit, I'd stay the hell away from them tonight, because after disappointing last night against Pittsburgh, losing 6-3. But this is the team that they shit the bed against Saturday night in Detroit, where they had that 4-0 lead. Great start for the Blues, and then 6 unanswered goals for Detroit, and they win that game 6-4. If you can't show up here against the team that did that to you, that came back from a 4-0 deficit, and now you get them at home, shame on you if you're St. Louis. So I'm going to do the same things I did last night. St. Louis first period puck line. You're going to get a good plus price on that. I'm going to wait for St. Louis goal in the first period like I did last night successfully against Pittsburgh. I waited for that to come down to minus 120, and then I took it. And they got 2 goals in that opening period against Pittsburgh. And I'm going to sprinkle just a bit on the money line with the hope that if they fall behind, I'll add more at plus money. I don't want to get too pot committed on St. Louis money line pregame. Just a very small bet on that. I plan to add to it at plus money if they fall behind at some point. But I think they have a good chance to maybe get the lead. Like, this is a team that just, came back on you. It was a despicable loss when you're up 4-0 and you lose 6-4. So for that reason only, I'm going to take a shot early with St. Louis here at home. And they have Binnington in net. And we're at the point now where there is a gap. A bigger gap now than last year with Binnington and Hofer. Last year, Hofer was pretty good, pretty solid. This year, he's been a train wreck. He's been a mess. He has not played well for St. Louis. So there is now currently a bigger gap, in my opinion, between Joel Hofer and Jordan Binnington. So Binnington and Gibson are going to get the starts here. Like I said, we'll target those early bets on St. Louis here in this game. I probably have to lean over, too, just because, especially with some 5.5s out there in this game, simply because of the struggles we're seeing defensively this year for the Blues. Now, they are without some key pieces. We do have to keep that in mind. Robert Thomas, Jake, won't you be my neighbor? Jake Neighbors is out. 2 of their better forwards. And there's been some shuffling going on. Buchnevich, it looks like Suter might be centering the top line tonight with Snuggerud and Buchnevich. So tremendous value with Pius Suter tonight for the St. Louis Blues, no question about that. And yes, everyone in the chat's mentioning him. Mason Appleton, Casper the Friendly Betting Ghost, and especially Emmett Finney with Raymond and Raymond and Larkin on the top line. Emmett Finney's still there. A great value still with him on that top line left wing side for the Detroit Red Wings. So those are the props I'm eyeing here in this game. Alex, what do you think here? Red Wings Blues.
Another live over by factor targeted, like I said, especially with these 5.5s kind of hanging around that 130, 135 range. It's going to wait a couple minutes, but I expect to see goals back and forth. It might take a stab at the draw here as well, but this will be a good live game as well.
All right. This one, by the way, 8:22 p.m. Eastern time, this start time here, Blues and Red Wings. Matt, what do you think here? Detroit, St. Louis.
Yeah, I jumped in on over 5.5 yesterday at a decent price. For me, I'll be looking in game to double down on that or potentially get a first period over. It's tough for me when there's, two teams that are averaging 3 or more goals, but both giving up 3 or more goals. Obviously, St. Louis, I think, is second to last in the league right now, giving up 4.5 goals a game or something close to that. So when I saw the 5.5, it's kind of an auto bet for me. I do think you'll see some push out of St. Louis after their last couple games trying to get back on track, but I just don't know if they can do it defensively. But there is going to be that edge of what happened on Saturday in Detroit, kind of trying to get some redemption. So I think they'll play hard. I think, Detroit will score some goals, and so will St. Louis. So just hoping for overs in this one.
All right, Washington and Dallas. Here we go. Maddie's team. We've got Dallas minus 135 home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. They can breathe a little easier in Big D after the comeback win against Carolina 3-2, and then the subsequent on the back-to-back Sunday night in Nashville, beating the Predators 3-2 in the battle of backups. I wish there was one more goal in that game, though. I was fully expecting we could get to 6 there with DeSmith and useless Onanen, but unfortunately it didn't happen. But nevertheless, back-to-back wins now for this Dallas team, kind of calm the waters a little bit, calm Matt's brother down a little bit. As well after the wins against Carolina and Nashville back-to-back. But now, coming in here is a very, very good Washington team that had easily their worst game of the year. They got smacked 7-1 at home by the Ottawa Senators in their last game. We'll see if they can bounce back here from that loss against this Dallas Stars team. Dallas has actually had the better of this series history. 6 of the last 7 have been won by Dallas. 6-1 they are. The last 7 meetings against Washington. We'll see if they are able to keep the head-to-head success going here tonight. Should be a good goalie matchup. You've got the top guys for each team, Logan Thompson, Jake Ottinger, getting the starts here tonight in this game for the Capitals. So, like I said, interesting game. This is definitely a live betting target. The way I'm seeing it right now is at the current prices, I think it's well-priced. I don't know if this is a game that's going to go over the total. Dallas has not been scoring nearly as much. Like 3 goals has been kind of their max output in recent games. We also know that Cap Stars has trended under, the last few times they played, both games last year, 3-1, 3-2, staying under. So it could be a lower scoring game, 2 good goalies right now. And I would expect Washington to maybe dig in even more defensively after allowing 7 Saturday night against Ottawa. The draw, I don't mind that, Perlo. It's not a bad draw candidate. But I would look for a greater plus money price on whoever falls behind. That might be my target here live during the betcast tonight. Alex, what do you think here, Washington, Dallas?
Yeah, I feel like this could be one to just kind of wait for overall. If it draw, I would maybe lean toward. We saw back-to-back draws a couple seasons ago. But this is one I want to kind of wait and see because we could see the pace increase. And I've been waiting for Dallas to kind of, just get off to a hot first period start and get some offense going early in the game. And, maybe that could come against Washington. Maybe Washington gives them some of that pushback. So this is one, it's a pass right now, and I'll just wait for it live. I do have first period over circled because I think, especially if Washington gets on the board first, Dallas has to show some pushback, when they allow a goal. It's something we haven't seen so far this season.
Yeah, no doubt, no question. All right, Matt's going to have to head out in about 10 minutes, so we'll let him talk about this game, and we'll go through every other game quickly with him after that. Matt, what do you think here, Capitals, Stars?
Yeah, so not a lot for me, sides and totals-wise. Dallas has been very unpredictable, as you mentioned. Ryan was pretty rattled both nights going down 2-0 after, the slate that they've had. Both times I had to come back and be like, oh, that worked out well. You'd think, after the first one and then them going down 2-0 the other night, Sunday night, that, he wouldn't have had panic, but, it is what
I thought
it
he was
is.
over that stuff, but not. And you know what's scary
Yeah.
is apparently his roommate's 10 times fucking worse with that shit. So that
Very, very much so. And so I get to deal with that all the time in the group text. But no, I mean, I'm sure he's happy they were able to get those 2 wins. He did mention pregame, and I kind of said the same thing, for them to lose some games to maybe some non-contenders. And I know Carolina's hurt, but it's just very Dallas to, rattle off 4 losses and then boom, beat a good Carolina team. So, good to see them get the 2 wins on the back-to-back. Obviously a good a good weekend for Dallas. As far as this game goes, again, this will be obviously a game that I've got, main focus on when it's going on. So it'll definitely be some live looks. I don't hate the first period over. I just think I want to see kind of the pace, see if Dallas is kind of having that push. It's pretty common for them to give up a goal in the first period at the AAC, but if they're creating chances, then I might jump in live because, easily could get to a 1-1 first period.
That's a great point. You mentioning that they've given up a goal early at home lately. They have. That's number 1. And number 2, I think Washington's pissed after getting blown out by Ottawa. So I'm going to target a Washington goal in the first period on the BetCast. It's not a good price now to bet it, but wait for it. Maybe we'll get a better price on the BetCast.
Yeah. And so pregame, I do have 2 kind of looks that I'm kind of teetering on. One of them is Jason Robertson power play point. I saw it at like plus 180. He's had a power play point in 2 of his last 3. And what's interesting is the one game he didn't get a power play point in was that Carolina game, and Dallas was 2 for 4 on the power play. So it's kind of wild how that works out. But that power play is moving. If they get a chance, I think, Robertson could chip in. And then the other look for me is I may take a shot. It's right around that same price, like plus 175. Mikko Rantanen over 1.5 point night. Reason being, I saw today some of the beat writers for Dallas. Duchesne's going to be out. Rupe is going to be out. They're bringing in Cappy Bianco from the Texas Stars.
At the Capo Bianco. There we go.
Yep. So, but it looks like it may be an 11-7 night. And I just know from, back when they were kind of rolling 7 with Miro early in the playoffs, that tends to mean Mikko is going to put up some big minutes tonight, especially with the absences. He tends to elevate his game when he's getting more ice time. It's not something they want to do all regular season and have him be, a waste come playoff time. But tonight I could see him having a good game if he's getting a couple extra shifts here and there, maybe playing a little bit with Sagan and Steele, maybe getting out there with Robo and Wyatt, different things like that. So I look for those 2 props in this one, just given the 11-7. I think, there's a good opportunity there.
All right. We're going to roll through the rest of the card in rapid fire succession here with Matt Robinson before he heads on out. Ottawa, Chicago. Ottawa minus 140. Road favorites 5.5 the total.
Yeah, so this is one I do lean over. It's on my potential pregame bet list, but I think what I'm going to do with this one is just wait a couple minutes, try and get a good price at that 5.5. I looked at betting it yesterday. Ottawa coming off the back-to-back, obviously showed that they can score some goals last night, putting up 7 at home against Boston. But tonight, sometimes when you get a big 7 blow like that, it's hard to continue that pace. But so I want to see kind of early, if there's some pace to this game. I know Chicago can put up a couple points, especially at home. They've been playing better this year. So if that's the case, then I'll probably jump in live with an over here.
New Jersey Devils, Colorado Avalanche. Colorado minus 160, home favorite. 6 the total. This is a rematch of a game in New Jersey. Same 2 teams Sunday. Devils winning in overtime, 4-3. Maddie, what do you think here in the rematch?
Yep. And obviously when I think I mentioned this when I was on the show on Friday, when there's a back-to-back in the same teams, I generally, because I think we had the Toronto-Buffalo one where we were talking about it that day, and then we had the next day they were back, reverse home. I don't typically like to go with what happened, but I think in this situation, I am on the over. I got in at 6 at a pretty good price yesterday. I just think, I think if you look statistically, Colorado is like second in the league right now as far as goals against, as far as being low. But I think they had that great start. Wedgwood came out hot. I think they are not slowing down in that sense, but they are there are more opportunities for teams to score. I think New Jersey's off to a great start, obviously record-wise, but I think they can put up some points. And I think Colorado at home is typically an over game for me in general. Because, if their power play gets rolling, which has been horrible this year, which is shocking because it's a lot of the same crew, if that flips the switch, this game could easily soar over the over. So you got two good offenses. You've got defenses that do have gaps here and there. So I think I'm going to be on the over on this one. This would also be a good first period overlook, but I think I'll watch a couple minutes because this will be another game that I'm interested in, and then we'll jump on the live over.
Yeah, Alex and I will get into this more when we talk about this game, but a very strong over series history with these two teams. Well.
I noticed that as well.
Yep. Utah and Edmonton. We've got Edmonton minus 150, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. The Utah Mammoth are red hot. Right now, it kind of feels like they're playing like a team that can't be stopped, but it won't be easy. And Edmonton's off 2 straight losses, so there should be focus here for the Oilers. What are you thinking here? This is actually a good one, a good one, underrated game here tonight, Utah, Edmonton.
Yeah, I think it's a pass for me pregame, but I think there is some value there with Utah. But I think if Edmonton was coming into this game off a win, I'd probably take Utah at plus 130. I think the 2-loss factor, playing at home, frozen frenzy day, teams are going to be excited to play tonight. There's going to be more coverage. Guys want to play well. So I do kind of lean first period over with this one because I think Edmonton off 2 losses will be looking to get a quick start. And I think Utah's been pretty hot. So I wouldn't be shocked if they're able to pop one in the first. I don't know if I'll jump in at pregame, but it's definitely something I'm eyeing to potentially put a bet in before the game starts.
All right, New York Rangers, Vancouver Canucks. We've got the Rangers minus 120 road favorites, 5.5 the total here.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. New York is so unpredictable. They had the stretch at home with 1 goal in 3 games or whatever it was, and then they rattle off and end up losing to San Jose 6-5. So to me, it's just too up and down. I haven't been able to watch a ton of Vancouver yet this year. Being a later game in the card, 10 o'clock Eastern time start, I think we'll kind of see how the pace of the day goes, and then I may have something pregame on the betcast, but at the moment, nothing here for me.
All right, we got 2 games left here for Matt, Montreal and Seattle. These teams have already played each other once this year. We've got a lot of situations, East versus West, and the 2 teams are playing each other like twice in a week and then not again for the rest of the season. This is another one of those instances. Montreal, I think, beat them in overtime at home against Seattle, if I'm not mistaken. Now the rematch here, Canadiens minus 125, road favorites, 5.5 the total.
Yeah, I lean over here. This will be probably similar to the last game. I'll kind of wait until we see how I'm a big believer in kind of league momentum, even though it's got nothing to do with anything. There's Tuesday nights where, the first 3 first period overs hit, and I feel like it's going to be a high scoring affair throughout the whole card. So I do like the over here. I think that game you mentioned when they played earlier in the season was like 5-4 back on October 14th. So obviously both teams can score against each other. So, with that 5.5, I do like that. So I might give it a couple minutes, see the pace, and then jump on that over 5.5. I might have that circled. Not bet it pregame, but have it circled for a pregame bet.
Good stuff. All right, last game, LA San Jose. This is how we end our night at 11 p.m. Eastern with this puck drop. Kings and Sharks. Kings minus 210, road favorites, 6 the total.
Yeah, I think for me in this game, the only thing I'll have pregame is the first period over. I know LA, I'm looking at the chart. I don't even see them on here. Where are they? They're 5-5 to the first period over.
San Jose's been a good first period over. They're 6.
Yeah, that's being at home. San Jose's been honestly a fun team to watch. I mean, they haven't won a lot of games. They obviously are finally in the win column as of the last 5 days. But they're a fun team to watch. And Celebrini's off to a hot start. I've been seeing buzz around him, working his way into a potential spot on the Canadian team for the Olympics. Obviously he has a lot to do to get to that point, but he's definitely making a mark early. But yeah, they're a fun team to watch. They're exciting. That Sharks Minnesota game was on TV at the bar the other day, so I was kind of following along there. The Sharks go up, Minnesota kind of evens it up, and then San Jose finds a way to get it done in the end. So first period over for me just because of San Jose. It'll kind of be a nice end of the night, last game. Let's hit a first period over. But I'll definitely be looking in game kind of at the pace of that game to see if we jump on a total as well.
Just a little interesting tidbit. San Jose won both meetings at home against Los Angeles last year. Just something to keep in mind here. We'll get back to this later. I clearly have an opinion on it, as you can tell. All right, great stuff. And Matt, we know you got to run, so we'll get right to your bargain bin special of the night first, and then best bet. But bargain bin special, Matt, what do you got?
Yeah, so it's actually interesting. We're going to go to one of the first games of the night, one of those 2, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock Eastern games. Calgary, Toronto. We talked about it. We like the over in this one. Calgary has struggled to score, but with injuries and things like that, this could be a game where they pocket a few. Toronto fights back, things like that. We got a guy playing on the second line. It worked for me last week, so we're going to roll with Blake Coleman. Even though he's on the second line, even though he gets some special teams time, he's still at plus 400 anytime goal. So let's kick off the old betcast tonight with a quick Blake Coleman goal. I might throw a buck or two on him to score the first goal as well. Just, that would be quite the start to the night. So Blake Coleman anytime goal will be my bargain bin tonight.
All right, Blake Coleman north of plus 400 for Calgary for a bargain bin special. All right, and best bet from Matt Robinson. Matt, what do you got?
Yeah, so for best bet, there's obviously a lot of options. I think the gimme would be to take the Islanders Boston over 5.5 just because every game is hit. But it's pretty clear I love that bet. So I'll go with something different. Give me the Carolina Vegas over 6. We mentioned it, Vegas coming off 2 games where they haven't scored kind of at their pace. They did hit the first period over in that Tampa game, so hopefully we get a first period over here to get a good start. But I think Vegas has full capability to score on Carolina right now. They're looking for that revenge spot, and then Carolina's looking for the revenge spot from when they played Vegas a few days ago last week. So I like goals in this one. I think it'll be goals early and often. So we're just looking to get over 6. If we get 3-3 in the third, that's money. So. Vegas, Carolina over 6. That'll be my best bet for tonight's betcast.
There you go. Vegas, Carolina over 6. Best bet for Matt Robinson. Matt, we'll see you later. I am looking forward to it for the betcast tonight. Can't wait.
Yeah, very excited. As I mentioned earlier, looking forward to seeing some of the old faces, some of the Patreon members. But anyone that's new to the show, just started watching. I actually have a buddy down in Austin that hadn't heard of us, just started watching this year. He's been watching daily. My boy Matt Hicks, so shouts to Matt. Hopefully we see some new folks too. Feel free to jump on, even if you can just come on for a beer for 15, 20 minutes during one of the games you like. Feel free to pop in. It'll be good to meet everybody.
Yep, you can stay for as little or as long as you like. That's what I always say to anyone that joins the betcast. All right, Matt, we'll see you tonight.
Yep. All right, see you guys. Have a good rest of the show, and we'll talk soon.
All right, good stuff. Matt Robinson there. All right, great stuff. We're rolling along. You already mentioned Washington, Dallas, right? You talked about it already? You're muted.
First period over is my look.
There you go. All right, Good stuff. All right, on we go now as we will circle back to where we left off. It became the Matt Robinson show there for about 10 minutes, so hope you enjoyed it. Good stuff there. All right, Ottawa, Chicago. Ottawa minus 140, road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Ottawa, man, out of their slumber. 3 straight wins. They beat Philly at home, pummeled Washington 7-1 on the road on Saturday, pummeled Boston 7-2 last night. So they're playing good again, 3 straight wins, but this is a bit of a tricky spot. You're back-to-back now after playing at home, whooping up on Boston. 3rd game in 4 nights, all with travel, too. You went home against Philly to Washington, back home to Ottawa for 1 game against Boston, and now back on the road, back-to-back here tonight against Chicago. Blackhawks not happy with their performance and their loss to LA. Bedard saying power play wasn't any good, which it wasn't. He's right about that in the last game, saying they got to work on some things. It was a pretty good brisk practice yesterday that Jeff Blashill ran for the Blackhawks on Monday, looking to bounce back. Blackhawks have dominated Senators long term in this series. Now, last year, not as much, but long term, Chicago certainly had the better of it. I'm totally fine taking Chicago at this price in this spot. Plus 120. Spencer Knight is going to be the goalie for Chicago tonight. That's what I was waiting on. Linus Ullmark will get the start, and they went with Merrilainen last night, so it'll be Ullmark tonight. And Ullmark's starting to play a little bit better, but he still hasn't had a phenomenal season to begin. Maybe Ottawa a little feeling themselves a little bit after 3 pretty good wins, 2 back-to-back blowout wins. You got a Chicago team that should be ready to get dialed in and play a hard, strong game at home. Do be a spot for Ottawa on a back-to-back. Good spot, good price. Chicago plus 120 for me. Alex, what do you think? Sens Blackhawks.
Dog and draw split here, so I got Hawks plus 1. Actually, got plus 125. I have the draw plus 340, and give me the Frankie Nazar trifecta. That's anytime goal plus 230, first goal 1500, and because I like this game to go OT, we'll go with him to get the OT winner at 70-1.
Yeah, there's a couple I like here. I like Ryan Green up there with Bedard and Burakovsky. It's looking like tonight worth a shot.
Look for him to maybe get a point. Yeah. I don't know about a goal necessarily. Yeah. I can see him maybe being involved in an assist on a Bedard goal or something like that. But.
Yeah, but he's up there. That's value that's worth a shot here. And I have to go back to Ridley Gregg's a good one. I mentioned him. Pinto, Ridley, Gregg. Pinto because he's been one of their top goal scorers. Ridley Gregg because he's up on the second line with Cousins and Perron. But the number one prop is the one I cashed a bargain bin special with last night. Nick Cousins. You just got to keep rocking with it. Absolutely playing with Stützle.
Still 6-1.
Still a great price. That's insane. It hasn't been adjusted more than that. And he scored in back-to-back games since Travis Green put him up on the top line too.
He scores tonight, then it'll probably be 350 the next game. So this is the time you want to strike.
Strike while the iron's hot. Like I said, get in on this now before the adjustment's made. Like I said, plus 750 at Bet Rivers, believe it or not, for him to score tonight. So actually a better price there than last night. If you can believe it. All right, New Jersey, Chicago. New Jersey, Colorado. Colorado minus 160, home favorite, 6 the total. Like I mentioned with Matt, they played on Sunday afternoon in Jersey, 4-3 Devils win in overtime, so revenge spot for the Avs. I don't know if Jacob Markstrom being back's a great thing. He's been out for a while. He is returning. He's been confirmed as the starter tonight in net for the Devils, which isn't a surprise because he was backing up Jake Allen in New Jersey's last game, but it looks like Sheldon Keefe is going to put Jacob Markstrom back in for his first start since returning from injury. Scott Wedgwood, who continues to get all the starts with Blackwood out for Colorado. He remains in for the Avalanche. There are some injuries here for New Jersey. Brett Pesce, that's their Jacob Slavin. He's out. Dodonov's still out. Cody Glass repair. Cody Glass replace. He's also out for the New Jersey Devils right now. So missing Pesce is significant. I like Colorado team total over 3.5. I know New Jersey's been an incredible defensive team this season, really, really strong. But a lot of these recent performances have been Jake Allen defensive games. Jake Allen starts. Now you got Markstrom back. I don't know if he's going to be totally sharp, top form, first game back in a while. I think the Colorado Avalanche. By the way, I'm gonna dabble too. Colorado, as far as it's too expensive. Never mind. I will dabble on the betcast Colorado to get a goal in the first period. If they stay off the board scoreless for long enough, we're going to get a good price on it, and I will look at that in game. But pregame, I will take Colorado's full game team total over 3.5. Plus 106. Don't think it'll be smooth sailing necessarily for Markstrom in his first start back. And keep in mind, of course, Brett Pesce, one of the better blue liners, out for New Jersey. And I'm also going to look toward first period and full game over, slanted more to the full game over, just banking on series history. I mentioned it with Matt. There's been a strong over series history with these two teams. 5-1 to the over in the last 6 meetings between these two teams. So over by Fecta, more toward the full game over. Colorado team total over 3.5. We'll look at a first period goal bet for Colorado if the price drops to a good enough plateau. Alex, what do you think here? Devils, Avalanche.
Yeah, this is one where it's mostly live looks, but I will be jumping in with a parlay of Avs and over 4.5. You get minus $1.02 with that at BetMGM. So I'm playing that small, but looking for things live mostly.
Yeah, something tells me, as great as New Jersey's been, it's a tough spot. If they win this, I'm really going to be impressed. Hats off to them, because, and look, they're playing great hockey right now. Obviously, when you win 8 games in a row like they have, but this is tricky here. Now with Colorado back home, revenge for losing to New Jersey on Sunday, and Colorado's lost 4 in a row in tough fashion. I mean, 3 of these games have gone past regulation as well, so maybe I should be sprinkling on the draw. In fact, I probably will. Here in this New Jersey-Colorado game. But Utah, Carolina, Boston, Jersey, all of them 1-goal losses too. So tough little run here for Colorado, but not a bad spot maybe for them to get back on track, just because I'm not convinced Markstrom's on top of his game for his first start in a while. All right, Utah and Edmonton. We've got Edmonton minus 150, home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. Matt mentioned it. I'm a little concerned that Utah is going to get Edmonton in a bad mood off back-to-back losses to Seattle and Vancouver on the road over the weekend. Now back home looking to bounce back, but I'm still going to take a shot here with the Utah Mammoth plus 130. I'm still going to take it. I like the way they're playing. Great confidence, goal-scoring ability. I got to admit, defensively, we've seen this team really step their game up during this win streak as well, giving up 2 goals or less in 2 straight wins against Minnesota and Winnipeg. Like I said, the offense has been great for the Mammoth during this run of 7 straight wins. Now Edmonton, like I said, they're coming back home in a bad mood. 2 straight losses, still 2-0-1 at home on the season. But it's still, talking about a team that's won 7 in a row. You're getting plus money. That's why I'm on it here on the Utah plus 130. I'll admit I would not be shocked if Edmonton beats them and ends the win streak for the Utah Mammoth. But at this price, it's good enough for me still to take Utah. Alex, what do you think here? Utah, Edmonton.
Yeah, right there with you, Utah. I got plus 120. So like I said, we've seen this number inflate, but like I said, got to roll with the hot hand. So if Edmonton beats us, so be it. But we're rolling with the dog there.
All right, liking that. As far as props go, Mangiapane and Roslovic and Podkolzin maybe on the second line, or top 2 lines there for Edmonton. For the Utah Mammoth, obviously Logan Cooley's been just incredible during this run. Nick Schmaltz, Barrett Hayton, Gunther, Carcone. Don't sleep on Carcone. He's starting to pick it up. He scored the other night. He's a streaky player. I could see him maybe being someone that maybe cashes in and finds the back of the net, because he scores in bunches. He'll go 10 games without scoring, and then he'll score a bunch all at once. All right, Rangers, Canucks. Rangers minus 120, road favorites, 5.5 the total. I have to take Vancouver at this price. I just have to, with how lousy the Rangers are right now. I mean, it's pretty shocking, actually, to see the Rangers once again put out there as a road favorite when they just got bludgeoned by Calgary 5-1 to start this road trip. Team that lost at home to San Jose in overtime, lost to Minnesota, who aren't exactly playing their best hockey right now, and they lost to the Wild 3-1. It's just not a very good Ranger team at the moment, not playing well. Vancouver, bounced back from a tough loss to Montreal, beating Edmonton 4-3 in overtime. In their last game. Jonathan Quick getting the start here for the New York Rangers. Not a complete shock. You got to give Shesterkin a rest at some point. He probably needs a break from the pylons in front of him right now more than anything else. But nevertheless, Quick for the Rangers, Thatcher Demko for Vancouver. So an All-American, All-Stars and Stripes goaltending matchup here tonight in this one, Rangers Canucks. This is another one, too, where as far as the total's concerned, 7 straight overs. Can you believe it? 7 straight overs, Rangers versus Canucks head-to-head. And I think every single one of them was a first period over as well. I mean, it's pretty shocking to see that. But sometimes we have just seen actually, no, that's not true about I think the last meeting stayed under in the first period, but it still went over in the full game. So, but I'll take it still, over by Fecta here, Rangers and Canucks. Alex, what do you think here? New York, Vancouver.
This is one where I would be leaning toward the over, looking at that series history, but I can wait for this. With it already being a 5.5, minus 120, 125, this is one I want to eye for plus money. So like I said, of course, we'll make adjustments later in the evening with some of these late games, depending on how things go in the early slate. But that's the way that I have targeted here. Live over 5.5 at plus money or better.
Yeah, JT Miller return night to Vancouver. Yes. JT Miller props. Yes, they're worth a look. Absolutely. He's going to want to show up, make an impact here. He hasn't played in Vancouver as a member of the Rangers since that trade. That's another thing to keep in mind because when the Rangers went to Vancouver last year to play the Canucks, it was in November. And of course, Miller was still with the Vancouver Canucks at that point. Yeah, Kiefer Sherwood, 100%, Rich. I mean, if you're going to target someone, and from a value standpoint now with the Canucks, it's Kiefer Sherwood, plus 400. I'm telling you what, this guy's a really effective depth forward. He really is. He's a good bottom six forward for this Canucks team. He scored all of a sudden this year in 40% of their games, scored in their last game for the Canucks, plus 410. Good value, in my opinion. No question. So someone to keep an eye on there. Another thing, too, for the Rangers, he scored the last game for them, their only goal of the game it was against the Calgary Flames. And I like the way that line has outworked Lafreniere, Zibanejad, Sheary, Panarin, Miller, Radish at times. Brennan Othman, Will Cooley, and Noah Laba. And you can get plus 700 on him to score a goal. He got the only goal the other night for the Rangers. So I think that's worth a shot, too. Montreal, Seattle. Montreal, minus 125, road favorites, 5.5 the total. I was leaning over in this game with if it had been Montembeault confirmed in net, because we know he's been fighting the puck lately, but it is going to be Jakob Dobeš. Marty St. Louis is riding the hot hand here. Why not? Jakob Dobeš has been very good. He's been the better of his two goaltenders so far this season for the Montreal Canadiens. Joey Decord projected, although not yet confirmed in net for Seattle, but I do believe we will expect him. Like I said, there's a rematch of the game in Montreal, which was a great hockey game. Canadiens ended up coming back to win 5-4 in overtime. This is another one where series history standpoint, all 5 of the last five straight meetings have gone 6 goals or more between these two teams. 5 straight meetings, and the total's only 5.5 here. So I would have really liked the over if it was Montembeault, but even with Dobeš and Decord being the probable matchup, I think I will still dabble in the over 5.5, but I'm also going to take Montreal now that it's Dobeš, minus 125. Like the way they're playing, like the way he's playing right now in net for the Canadiens. It is Seattle revenge because they lost in overtime, a tough one in Montreal, but this team's playing too good right now to be not taking advantage of them with Dobeš in net at a price like this. So I'm going to still take the Habs minus 125 over 5.5 as well. Alex, what do you think? Habs, Kraken.
I got minus 120 earlier. I would say at this point you can wait and look for something in game, because I like the trend that we've been looking at. I know it hasn't cashed in the last 2 times. It's probably the last time I looked for it, but Seattle first goal in first period plus 135. If you grab a little bit piece of Montreal and you like that Seattle to score in the first on Dobeš, where we've still seen him, like I said, it hasn't come through as often this year, but giving up that first goal and then look to jump and grab a plus price with Montreal. So that's the way I'm going to look at it. I have a small piece of the Habs now, small piece of Kraken to score first goal in first period, but the target will be to try to grab Montreal to plus price.
All right, there we go. I like it. Good stuff. Prop-wise for this Montreal and Seattle game, just a couple that I've targeted here for the prop market. Montreal, Slafkovsky, on the top line, I think worth a shot here because we've started to see him start to heat up a little bit for this Habs team. What else am I looking at? Eberle's gone back-to-back games with a goal for the Seattle Kraken, so I liking that. I think Demidov, after scoring the last game, I know he's an assist guy too, but plus 320 for him to find the back of the net. Do think that price is worth a shot here as well on Montreal tonight in this game. All right, we wrap it up. Our final game for this massive night of NHL action with all 32 teams in action, all 16 games. LA, San Jose, minus 210 road favorites, 6 the total, 11 p.m. Eastern. This is the last of the triple header that ESPN has going for this NHL Frozen Frenzy night. LA at this price, there's no chance in hell. Now, I get it. San Jose in these spots for years for me has been a fade, coming off a long road trip back home. Obviously, a road trip that ended with a pretty good amount of success. They beat the Rangers in overtime. They had the loss to New Jersey in between, but New Jersey's as hot as any team going. And then they beat Minnesota 6-5 in overtime to wrap up the road trip going 2-2. This is not the greatest of spots for San Jose historically. I know that. But LA's coming back off a 4-game road trip too, and now going back to the West Coast here into the Bay Area for this game against San Jose. So it's not the greatest situational spot for the Kings either. And they're the team that's laying minus 210. And they're a team that, they've actually, it's funny, last year LA was amazing at home, terrible on the road. This year, they actually have a 4-3 road record, and they're winless at home. Pretty crazy to see that. But this price, I think, is a little bit outrageous. San Jose's playing hard every night, even though there's mash unit on the blue line. We've talked about it. It's crazy that there's no Timothy Liljegren actually is back tonight. That's a good news. But Klingberg, Makhmadulin, and Leddy have been injured for them. How about interesting that Warsofsky is going to start Askarov for the third straight game? I think starting to lean toward giving this guy some runway, the goalie of the future. They hope is the goalie of the future. And Nedeljkovic has kind of been bumped to the side a little bit. This is going to be the third start in 4 games for Askarov. He started the Islander game. He started the New Jersey game. He got the win against Minnesota, did give up 5 goals, but I thought he was very good in the New Jersey game, even though they lost, only giving up 2 goals. So it's still a struggle. It's still been up and down. But I have to, at this price and the way the Kings are put out there in this kind of a range, I don't trust them one bit. Kemper is expected to start, but I like taking a shot here with the Sharks plus 170, but more so the team total over for San Jose, just in case, you don't know what you're always going to get from Askarov or the defense, which has been, let's be honest, hasn't been great. It's been Swiss cheese at times. So the Sharks team total, 2.5 plus money, actually, plus 102 for San Jose team total over. I will dabble in that as well. I do like the first period over here. San Jose's been a good first period team. I will look for a live full game over if it hits 5.5. Alex, Kings, Sharks.
This is a pass. Like I said, we'll be on tonight, so if something pops up live, we'll jump in. We usually jump in as a group when it gets to these late games, but nothing for me now.
Yeah, we'll find some group bets. I like Eklund, Smith, Toffoli against one of his old teams as well, San Jose facing LA, so I like a couple of those looks as far as props tonight. Warren Fogle is a game-time decision, it looks like, for the LA Kings. Laferriere, he started to, pop the puck in the net a couple of games lately. Scory Perry, worth a shot. Scory Perry has a point in 3 of the 4 games since he's made his Kings debut. So Corey Perry, even though he's only on the 4th line, worth a look. Great stuff. What a show. Shout out to everyone. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Like I said, we've got the Betcast in a little under 3 hours from now. Can't wait. 6 p.m. Eastern. DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the Betcast. We'll send you the link for it. 6 p.m. Eastern time. The Ice Guys NHL Frozen Frenzy live Betcast. Very excited about that. Can't wait to get it going tonight, our first Betcast of the season. Check out wizardsportspicks.com. I'm there. Alex is there. Matt Robinson's there. Premium Picks Daily. We're on a great 18-11 all sports run right now on the website with the Premium Picks, so check it out. wizardsportspicks.com. And, of course, patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. I mean, this is a perfect night to get on board. The card's going to be massive when we post it. Sides, totals, player props for the 16 games on the slate tonight. It's been a great run with the plays on the card every day. Goalie charts, totals charts now from Chris Otto included on the Patreon page. Goalie charts, all other bonus content. We're going to have our first exclusive to Patreon members only live Betcast in November. Stay tuned for that. So it's a perfect time to get on board, and it's well worth the $10 a month. You get your bang for your buck there with everything you get on the Patreon page. And again, your subscription goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long term. So make sure you get on board. $10 per month at patreon.com/iceguys.
Also, check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. We've got T-shirts like this one I'm wearing right now. We've got hoodies. We've got mugs. We've got caps. We've got all kinds of stuff. We got the Get Franked merch up there. Some new merch coming in the next couple of days as well. So check it all out at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, great stuff. Make sure you check it out. All right, Bargain Bin Special and Best Bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
Please for yourself, we know this. Royal Cannabis, where the kings and queens shop.
Great new ad right there. Royal Cannabis, our brand new smoke sponsor. Check it out. 20% off, promo code IceGuys at royalcannabisshop.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night. Working in the coal mine, Blake Coleman. Working in the coal mine, Blake Coleman, Calgary, was Matt Robinson's bargain bin special, which he cashed with Blake last week, going back to the well. Alex, bargain bin special. What do you like?
Yeah, let's go to that Blackhawks game taking on Ottawa tonight, and I believe this is a Frankie night. Like I said, I like him to get an anytime goal. If it goes to overtime, I like him to get the winner, but the bargain bin special night is first goal. Plus 1,500 is the price I got this morning. Frank Nazar to get the first goal, get things started off for the Hawks at home. It's my bargain bin special for this Frozen Frenzy Tuesday.
Frank Nazar, first goal for the Chicago Blackhawks for a bargain bin special for Alex B. Smith. My bargain, I'm going to give you 2 tonight. Obviously, you would expect 2 on a card like this, 16 games. I'm going to use them again tonight. Nick Cousins, Ottawa, plus 750 up on that top line for the Senators. Can't resist that price as one of my bargain bin specials. And the other, should have had him Saturday, at least should have bet him on Saturday in some form, back in the lineup for the Leafs. It looks like he's going to be most likely with Austin Matthews tonight. He scored in his return to the lineup against Buffalo. Nick Robertson for Toronto, plus 450. So there you go. 2 bargain bin specials. Nick Robertson, plus 450 for Toronto. Nick Cousins, 2 Nicks, Nick and Nick. It's a Nicholas night. Nick Cousins, plus 750 for Ottawa as well for my 2 bargain bin specials of the night for this Tuesday. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
They said not a lot of pregame bets, but my favorite one is right up the street at Grand Casino Arena. Got Winnipeg taking on Minnesota. That's a cheap price to back the Jets here. So you can get minus $1.10, minus $1.15. I'm rocking with Winnipeg money line tonight. That's my best bet.
All right, Winnipeg Jets money line for Alex B. Smith with his best bet for this Tuesday card. My best bet, I really like them tonight in this spot. It's Alex's team, and we're using them as best bet. Chicago, plus 120 against Ottawa. I know Ottawa's playing good. Maybe they keep going tonight, but tough spot, back-to-back. Chicago rested, not thrilled with their effort on home ice against L.A. I think they'll play a lot better. We've got the goalie we want in net, Spencer Knight. He's been absolutely terrific, giving a Blackhawks team the chance to win every night. He's been in between the pipes, and Chicago's dominated this series long-term against Ottawa. So Chicago, plus 120 against Ottawa for my best bet for this Tuesday NHL card. That's a wrap, guys. We're getting on out of here. Betcast, 2.5 hours away, 6 p.m. Eastern. Looking forward to it. We hope to see all of you there. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. We'll see you later tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern for the live Betcast. Enjoy the games and good luck. And back tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.